So what do business professors do? We are scholars of organization. We study how value is created in this world, typically through some sort of organizing of ourselves, of others, and our activities. Now, I'm here to tell you that my entire field of study is undergoing a change. Generative artificial intelligence changes everything. There's so many new questions that we need to ask. For the first time in history, we have access to digital brains, disembodied intelligence as a service, available on demand with the scalability of digital artifacts. This has important implications. It's not just a fad, we're undergoing a new industrial revolution. The capabilities of this technology have taken many of us by surprise. Of course, there are risks and dangers, giving many of us anxieties about the future of AI, the future of work, the future of our society. But whether you are concerned or optimistic, or maybe both, you still need to understand what this technology is capable of. Already, studies are showing that being equipped with generative AI tools increases our productivity multiple-fold. There are companies that are already using generative AI chatbots to do the work of hundreds of customer support employees. One area that has really surprised us in terms of the capabilities of generative AI has been ideation and creativity. This is something that we thought would be far in the future of AI. But current generative AI models, studies are showing that they're already better than humans at generating ideas and thinking about creative solutions. Another area where we've been very surprised with the capabilities of AI is empathy. We thought, again, that this would be far in the future of AI, but already studies are showing that it can be perceived as more empathetic than humans. These statistics are from a study where they looked at ChatGPT responses to medical questions on an online forum and compared it with actual doctor responses to those questions. Not only did ChatGPT do better in terms of quality, but it was also perceived to be much more empathetic in its responses. And of course, because it doesn't have the same limitations as humans, it never gets frustrated or tired. And these are what allows it to be always as empathetic as we need it to be. While we thought maybe that we're going to dread interacting with these cold robotic AIs in the past, the picture is starting to change in our minds. Now we're thinking maybe we're going to start getting addicted to interacting with AIs. We might think that interacting with humans will start to seem like a chore in the future. Oh man, I have to talk to a human today. Can't my AI just talk to their AI and sort things out? This might be a real thought not too far from now. So, how have we achieved this amazing technology? Basically, we have stored the patterns of human thinking based on written information, written knowledge about that describes our thinking in one giant probabilistic mathematical formula. That formula is called a neural network, and it's inspired by the structure of the human brain. We've actually had neural networks around for decades, but there's been some key breakthroughs recently about the structure of this formula, for example, the transformer architecture. But also, a really huge breakthrough was learning that we need to make the formula enormous by training it on an enormous amount of data. Basically, everything humans have ever written in the past went into training this formula, and once it became so big, it started showing behaviors that were similar to human intelligence, and in many cases, better than human intelligence. That was the main breakthrough. This is a 3D visualization of a neural network. ChatGPT basically has a similar brain, except much, much larger. This is a very small neural network. Now, An interesting thing about this technology is that it's maybe one of the most collectively achieved technologies in the history of humanity. Everyone contributed to it. Almost everything ever written in the past contributed to training these AI brains. Einstein contributed, Maya Angelou contributed, Avicenna contributed. Me and you probably contributed to these AI brains because our data was used in their training. So it's a very collective achievement of humanity, even if not all of us volunteered to contribute. Isn't it amazing that we can employ the contributions of everyone who's ever existed in everything we do using AI? It's a fascinating collective achievement. Now, training that enormous mathematical formula costs billions of dollars. So much data, so much computational power is needed. But once the algorithm is done training that formula, that neural network, basically it's a digital file. It's not even a dynamic system. It's a static digital file that you can store on a computer and you can copy like any other digital file. That makes it very, very scalable. That's the reason why when ChatGPT was released, in the first week, it had more than 100 million users and broke a record in history. Essentially, it's the scalability of digital artifacts that allows you to do that. Once you have these digital brains, you can extend them in various ways. You can give them sensory inputs, and they're not constrained by biological sensory inputs. Anything that can be turned into digital signals can be given to these brains as sensory inputs. You can give them different voices, different bodies, virtual or physical, different ways to interact with them. You can give them additional memory other than what was used in its training, additional knowledge, and you can get them to use tools. One of the ways in which we are exploring how to extend these digital brains is to put them inside humanoid robots. Now, humanoid robots is a very fascinating application area for these generative AI brains. Companies like Figure One, depicted here, and Tesla are pursuing this kind of humanoid robot. But while it is a very important use case because so much of our world is constructed around human bodies, we would be limiting our imagination if we thought that the only way to use these digital brains is similar to how humans use their brains, one brain controlling one body. In reality, one AI brain can control a fleet of bodies, a fleet of humanoid robots, maybe a distributed system of robots, drones, and smart machines. Conversely, inside one device, you might have a whole group of AIs. You might have a group of AIs consulting with each other to write a single paragraph, to solve a single problem, make a single decision. You might have a parliament of AIs thinking about a single problem for your organization. These are ways in which we might be able to use AIs to do things that humans can't do. Another really interesting way in which we can extend these AI brains because they are digital is to give them tools. They're already learning how to use tools. They can use programming environments, for example, to code. But a really interesting use case will be when we teach them to use our computers, control our mouse and keyboard. We're already there with this technology.
Okay, so it's opening Google Chrome. There it is. Now, I'm not doing anything. My hands are off the mouse and keyboard. Okay, so it's moving the mouse. It went to the address bar. Let's see if it's going to type anything in. It is a little slow. There it goes, YouTube.
Now, one other interesting tool that they can learn how to use is themselves. When we teach them to prompt themselves, we call them autonomous agents. Then they can start acting more independently to solve problems and work on different tasks that we give them. Kind of like an independent employee. Now, this has huge implications for organizations. Already at the single AI level, we are seeing the emergence of an entire new field of study called machine psychology. Why? Because we need to understand how these AI brains think and behave. They're not exactly like human brains. They're kind of like an alien kind of brain that we've never studied before. So we have to do entirely new types of studies to figure out how they work, how they behave. Do they have biases in their decisions? Are they similar to human biases or a bit different? How do they make decisions? Are they capable of dangerous things like deception, for example? We have to study these things. I think, similar to machine psychology, we're going to need to study the interaction of multiple AIs. Maybe we can call it machine sociology. We're going to need to think about how they interact with each other, maybe even in economic transactions. Maybe we can have a machine economics. But when it comes to organizing economic activity, I think we're going to need to study how AIs help in organizing and in creating value. We can call this the era of machine organization. So many things need to be studied in this era. How do they make economic decisions and managerial decisions? How do they make pricing decisions, hiring decisions, product decisions? How do they interact with other AIs and humans in creating value and organizing? And of course, another important thing that they can do is to represent humans, which has important implications because they can represent managers, customers, employees, stakeholders. How do we make them be better representatives when we make these digital clones or digital twins of humans with AIs? Already the technology is here. This clip is going to show Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, creating his digital twin.
Reid AI, introduce yourself to everyone.
Hello, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here today. I'm an AI-generated version of Reid Hoffman, his digital twin. My thinking and everything I am saying comes from a custom GPT that is based on 20 years of Reid talking and making content. So I've read all his books, watched his speeches, and listened to his podcasts. I think it gives me a pretty good sense of how you approach the world, Reid.
It's fascinating to think about this. Would you prefer to interact with an AI if it had a human-like voice or a human-like body, a virtual body or a physical body? Would you prefer to work with the AI representative of your boss instead of your actual boss if the AI representative was funnier? These are all questions that we're going to need to ask in this new era. But I want to point out something really interesting about these digital brains being scalable. It has a fundamental implication, which is that it will fundamentally change the calculations around the allocation of attention, cognitive effort, and intelligence to various tasks that can be done by AIs. Some of the things that haven't been possible for us to do as humans because we just couldn't afford getting a human to pay attention to them 24/7 may now be possible because the AI paying attention to things 24/7 is very inexpensive and available now. One context, for example, where limited human attention has always been a problem is the classroom. There's always been an issue of not having enough teacher attention and time to go around when you have lots of students in a classroom. Imagine what a teacher can do when they have multiple AI assistants at their fingertips. The scalability of these digital brains means once you have one AI assistant, you're not too far from having multiple. Maybe hundreds, maybe thousands if you need them. Once you have multiple AIs, you can start to get them collaborating with each other. Synthflow is an interesting company built with no-code tools that has already implemented ways in which you can get multiple AI employees working for you in collaborative ways. This is just a basic way of collaborating, but it's an indication of what is to come.
Good morning. This is Alex from Auto World Service Center.
Hey Alex, I need to schedule a routine maintenance appointment for my car.
Great. Would you prefer to bring your car to our downtown service center or the one on the east side?
I'll need an appointment for the East Side Service Center.
Thank you for letting me know. I'll transfer you now to Riley, our service scheduling specialist at the east side location. Hi there, I'm Riley. I understand you're looking to schedule a maintenance appointment at our east side location.
It's fascinating to think of what happens when multiple AIs can interact with each other to accomplish tasks and collaborate on things. We have to ask so many questions and study them and practice them and see what happens when we implement these solutions. One of the questions we need to ask is what tasks are better done by single AIs and what tasks are better done by multiple AIs? When do we need a human in the loop when multiple AIs are working together? When do we need hybrid human AI teams and when can we hand it off to the AIs? And when can't we rely on the AIs at all? What sort of tasks need to be done only by humans? An interesting question to ask is about the interaction structure of AIs when they work with each other. For example, if multiple AIs are working to solve a problem, do we let them collaborate as equals, or is it more productive if one of them has authority over the other ones? And can they make these decisions for themselves? For example, when they're interacting, could they possibly decide to promote one of their own to a higher authority position? These are interesting questions that we need to study and ask about how we use AIs in organizations. And of course, the all-important question, can AIs ultimately act as managers to humans? This is going to be a breakthrough moment when we reach the point where we're confident getting an AI to manage a group of humans. If you were to take away 3 key points from my talk today, let it be this. First, both the people who study organizations and the people who practice them are going to need to learn more about generative AI and use generative AI and invest in generative AI to figure out how to employ it productively and ethically and responsibly. Second, the calculations around the application and allocation of intelligence and cognitive effort are going to change fundamentally, at least for tasks that AI can do well. We're going to go from this meeting could have been an email to thinking this email could have been handled by an AI. For many different tasks, you're going to think that very soon. And lastly, the nature of organization is changing. AIs are going to become assistants to human employees. In some cases, they're going to substitute human employees. And in some cases, they might even manage human employees. We're going to have hybrid organizations of humans and AIs in an age of machine organization. Thank you, and I hope this talk has given you some food for thought.